Winds are whipping off the Atlantic among the breeze today. We've got a great non-conference lacrosse matchup. Monmouth and Hopkins coming up right now. Hey, very good afternoon. We are nice and warm inside Erica Kaufman-D'Elia. I'm Matt Harmon. Erica, exciting time of the year for both of these teams. Both off to pretty good starts. Hopkins number 23 in the country, a Monmouth team which has won 4 straight. This sets up to be a really good measuring stick for both teams.
It sure does, and like you said, it's a really exciting time in the season. Both teams have a handful of games under their belts. They're starting to feel who they are as teams, finding out what's working well and where they need to improve as they prepare for the most important part of the season, the conference schedule.
Hopkins part of the Big Ten, Monmouth now members of the CAA, a Hopkins team that has a really good attack. The player we're going to talk about, the junior, Georgie Gorelick.
That's right. Don't lose sight of number 3, a midfielder for the Blue Jays. She's currently her squad's leading goal scorer by a significant margin. To even Hopkins' record, Gorelick will need to continue her offensive production in today's matchup.
For a Monmouth team, which is, as we mentioned, won 4 straight, balanced attack, the junior Maya Brock has really found her way.
She sure has. Keep an eye on Maya, wearing number 35 for the Hawks. She's coming off a career performance just a week ago at Wagner where she scored 4 goals and added 5 draw controls. I expect Maya to be really active on the draw and in the attacking end of the field today to help Monmouth continue their winning streak.
Up and going here on a midweek matchup between Monmouth and Hopkins. Good to be with you. Hawks are in the white. Hopkins won the opening draw, took a opportunity that was negated, and Monmouth getting their first opportunity with possession. A Hopkins team that comes in number 23 in the country, 2-3 overall, 1-2 on the road. It is a team that I think, Erica, you could say this, their record probably not as good as they are as a team.
I would absolutely agree with that. Hopkins is a top program. They've faced some tough competition. They've won and lost some really close games. So I agree with you absolutely that their record might not indicate just how good they are.
Monmouth with the opportunity going the other direction. Hawks will get a chance here. You might hear the wind whipping around. It will absolutely, you think, be a factor today.
I think it will be a factor, and if you can't hear it, you can see it. Look at maybe some leaves, some other debris flying around on the field. That wind is certainly whipping up today, and we'll have to see how that impacts the ball as it moves through the air throughout this game.
Good early chance here for Monmouth to take advantage with 13:41 remaining in the first.
Taking a little bit more time than usual, as you can see, to get this free position opportunity set up for Caroline Brennan there, and she opts to pass it away.
Had the angle on the right attacking side for Monmouth. Shot clock reset to 60. Win like this, does it favor one team or the other, or it's going to be havoc for both?
I think at this level, it's going to have an equal impact on both teams. I would imagine both teams will be looking for shorter, crisper passes, not only around the attacking end, as you can see here with Monmouth, but also through the midfield, maybe sticking a little bit away from those longer, lofty passes that might get caught up or lost in the air.
Pulled back out and reset with Maddie Murphy wearing number 2 for Monmouth. Now we've got a whistle, and the foul coming against Hopkins.
Nice strong defensive stance from Hopkins to start their game. Unfortunately, with just 13 seconds left on the shot clock, they put Monmouth on the line, giving them another opportunity to score.
Brock with the chance there, not on frame. Reset for Monmouth. Shot clock winding down to 5.
Great hustle from Spears behind to keep the ball in play with Monmouth's attack.
Shot clock going off, and Hopkins will get it back. Hopkins team number 23 in the country. They come off a loss over the weekend at Drexel, a team that Monmouth will see later on during the course of the CAA season. Their wins over Albany and Georgetown.
Great look inside there for Maeve Barker. It looked like she was able to draw a shooting space call to put herself at the top center hash for a free position opportunity.
You would think shot here. Taken and scoring is Barker. Give Hopkins a 1-0 advantage. 10th of the year for the senior out of Massachusetts.
Nice strong take there for Maeve Barker. You could see that top center hash really gives the shooter a lot of different options on how she wants to approach the scoring opportunity. She ran right down the center. We'll take another look at this with a head full of steam. Here she goes. She's off. Just a quick cradle, and she buried it to that low left corner. Just a little too quick for Gia Mitchell to react in time.
Hopkins up a goal. Monmouth, a team that in this recent 4-game winning streak, Manhattan, Columbia, Wagner, and Sacred Heart, much of their damage has come being really good on the draw.
It has. Timing not ideal right there as Hopkins comes away with the second draw of the game, but they've had great success on the draw. You'll see Monmouth throughout the course of this game, if they stick true to plan, will alternate between typically Orban and Brock taking the draw, and they're both quite good at it. A little bit of a different style for each, so depending on how the game plays out, we might see a little bit of switch up there on the center circle.
It was Brock who took that one for Monmouth. Andy Marshall handling the chores for Hopkins. Maddie McPherson with a shot from distance and scoring.
And what got her so open and able to take that shot uncontended, you will see when we watch this replay, there was a pick that was set there right at the top of the 8 that gave her this lane, and we'll take another look at it right here. You can see there's some movement there with her teammate, creates a lane, sees her opportunity, and another hard bounce shot off of the turf to get Hopkins with a 2-goal lead.
McPherson, 3rd goal of the season. Senior from Baltimore, which is where Hopkins has their campus, right in downtown. Orban will step in this time for Monmouth, see if they can change their fortunes on the draw.
And such an important draw for Monmouth here as they're down 2-0. Really going to fight to get possession there to get the ball back. Actually, Orban comes up with the draw. It looks like we had Ali Staiba taking it. So mixing it up a little bit today to see what works best against this Hopkins midfield.
It's Daniel McNeely off on the right side of your screen. Resetting with Mangum.
Just a little bit too much contact there from the Hopkins defense against Ella Spears. You could see she was pushed slightly back, which will give the ball back to Monmouth.
Spears back up top. Mangum plays Orban. Now back on the right for McNeely.
McNeely able to break through the double team, gets a back check from behind. Ball scooped up, kept in possession with Monmouth, and able to put them on the board for their first goal of the day.
It was Caroline Brennan who picked it up. Right place, right time for the Hawks sophomore. Her 16th goal of the year. Makes it a 2-1 Hopkins lead.
And Brennan's such a prolific scorer for this Hawks attacking unit. Finds herself right in the middle of the 8. Great just wherewithal to pick up that ground ball, scoop it up, and get the shot off so quickly before any defense or even the goalie was able to reset and prepare for that.
Sophomore out of Downingtown, PA. Last year, a fantastic season, 46 goals and 20 assists. Staiba again in there for Monmouth. Lost that one to Marshall.
Looking at this defensive unit for Monmouth, a really veteran core. Young goaltending, a veteran core of defenders. Unable to really just get their groove yet in this game. 3 quick goals for Johns Hopkins.
Every goal so far for Hopkins, Erica, has not been deep into the shot clock. They're coming down and taking first real shot and first opportunity.
They sure have. They're coming down quickly. They're looking for that fast break opportunity. They're moving the ball well off a transition, hitting their cutters inside. Just a nice quick finish for Hopkins to give them a 2-goal lead. It's one of those things, too. If you can get a lead early on, even though we know this is a long game, it doesn't take a lot of time to score goals in lacrosse, and it can often be a high-scoring sport. Just starting off strong and getting that early lead really does give you the confidence and build some momentum. That's something a lot of teams look to do.
Angelo the goal, that one for Hopkins. Another draw win for Marshall. That's been the early story.
It has, and right now, if you look at the draw control line, 3-1, we're looking at our score, 3-1 as well, and that's not uncommon, that there's a strong correlation between those two stat lines. See, fighting through another pick up top, so it's something that you could see this Hopkins attack likes to work. Trying to find just a little bit of space. It doesn't take much in lacrosse. You just need to get a stick head open to get that pass, really thread the needle in there to get a good offensive opportunity.
What we've seen out of Hopkins the first 6 minutes or so, nothing overly complicated, but I think their story is let's do what we do well and make the other team adjust off of it.
That's right. Nothing complicated, nothing out of the ordinary, just effective, and they've executed well on those opportunities that they've had so far.
Hawks trying to get possession, and they do.
There's been a number of games for Monmouth where they've started a little bit slower, where they've had they've been behind in the first half and they've had to dig out of a hole a little bit to come up with some wins, and they've been able to do that. But I think Hopkins is a stronger opponent than some of the teams that they've been able to work those comebacks against. So it's going to be a team that they're going to want to try to keep this a little bit closer, knowing it'll be harder to come out of a big deficit.
Kept alive, spinning down inside was Spears, who lost her footing. Mangum able to pick it back up, reset for Monmouth. New shot clock put up as well. And then Monmouth with the unforced turnover.
Unfortunate there to be able to create yourself a second opportunity and just an unforced error to give up that possession.
You've got a stoppage. They want to reset the shot clock, I believe. Hopkins with a full 90 to work with. Blue Jays after this one as they will go up 4-1. Abby Hurlbrink with the goal.
And that was just a textbook 1v1 for Hurlbrink, playing up against one of Monmouth's top defenders in Bree Falco. And you can see she just takes this strong-handed up. She's pretty far out, sees her lane, and just rocks that shot from up top, nice and low past Mitchell to extend Hopkins' lead 4-1.
Gonna say after this one tonight for Hopkins, they'll play over the weekend at James Madison, and then we'll start their schedule in the Big Ten at Ohio State.
So that's 2 big games on the docket for them. James Madison just breaking the top 10 this past week, and Ohio State's consistently a top program, so they have their work cut out for them. See the check into the face there for Bree Falco. It looks like a card is coming out. Stick-to-stick contact with that checking, and it's something we teach the younger girls too. It needs to be away from the body to keep the ball handler safe. And that's a tough loss for Monmouth, not only to be a player down for 2 minutes if the penalty lasts that long, but to have one of your top veteran defenders on the sideline. And then I think it makes you alter your play slightly for the rest of the game. You don't want to be overly aggressive and risk getting that second yellow card and then sitting out the rest of the game.
Monmouth right now, a player down. Falco over on the sideline.
And you can see when those Monmouth defenders have space to cover, obviously ball is top priority, but as you see these players sliding, we had a player just low down on that crease, sliding to help on ball, getting caught in that shooting space. Oh, great collapse and defensive double for Monmouth. Gia Mitchell got a little bit of help from that top pipe on the cage.
I think it's fair to say, not to diminish the remaining part of the game, this is a critical part of this first quarter for Monmouth. You do not want to dig yourself an early hole against a team as good as Hopkins.
That's exactly right. It would be much harder to come out of a deficit like that against a Hopkins squad than it would be some of the previous opponents that they've faced. So it's fair to say that every possession, every scoring opportunity is critical. And I know finishing has been a big thing that this attacking unit has been working on. They've been creating opportunities for themselves. But to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter if you can't finish. So finishing is high on their list of priorities in today's game. So you can see them working it around now, really working for that right opportunity, getting the right shot off those high percentage shot opportunities, not wasting it on something that's not as likely to score.
Monmouth still player down for the next 35 seconds.
It's surprising with that we're not seeing a little bit more pressure and more double pressure against ball.
Brock. Mangum. Inside, the opportunity for Brennan. Drew some contact.
Yeah, a lot of contact. Brennan's got great size, and to see her go down that hard is indicative of the type of contact that she just got right inside that center of the 8-meter. Take another look at this foul against the Hopkins defense here. Feed comes inside to Brennan. She catches it. Before she's able to even turn and shoot, she faces a great amount of pressure, finds herself on the ground, gets awarded with a free position opportunity. See what she can do with that now.
Quick shot by Brennan. Save made by Tidings. Off the bounce. Penalty just about set to come to a close. Falco will come back on, but it won't be before Jordan Carr scores for Hopkins.
You knew that Hopkins would be looking for that quick score opportunity, not only off the fast break, which has worked well for them so far in this game, but also because for those last few moments, they did have a player up. And like you mentioned, Falco entered back into the game, but not enough time to get the match back to even. And another quick shot and score for Johns Hopkins. Looks like we have Steiba back on the draw circle for the time being. And
Hopkins, sorry, Erica, up 5-1. On the draw, up 5-1 on the scoreboard.
You beat me to that. That's exactly right. And that's something that Monmouth's going to have to work to fix with their options on who takes the draw. Able to come up with this one here. You can see Hopkins defenders coming all the way out past that 12-meter. It's their preferred style. They play this high-pressure zone. Monmouth had expected that coming into this game. Quick passing, like you see here, is what they want to do to try to beat this zone.
Brennan trying to catch inside, cannot. Picked up and left for Tidings.
A little bit of a forced pass there as Brennan just collapsed on inside that 8 meter before she even really handled the ball. And I'm sure Brennan is all over Hopkins' scouting report as being such a scoring threat. So when they see 23 inside, Hopkins is going to bring numbers. Nice save for Gia Mitchell to prevent Hopkins extending their lead.
Under 4 to go in the first. Whip shot. No look opportunity there for Hopkins. Monmouth able to defend it. Hawks will regain possession here.
Again, a little bit too much contact on Feely through the midfield. You can see Hopkins making it hard for Monmouth to get this ball out of their defensive end into their attacking 30, all the while taking time off the shot clock, so giving them just a little bit less time to work with once they eventually get down into their settled attack, if they get down into their settled attack. It looks like here we go with McNeely getting it started.
Shot and a save made by Tidings. It was Spears on the opportunity.
That was a nice opportunity for Spears. It was the right time. She didn't have multiple defenders against her, tried to take that crease roll, got a decent shot off. Nice save by Tidings.
Opportunity here for Hopkins with a little more than 2 to go in the first to extend a 5-1 lead.
Right, big collision there with Mary-Kate George on Monmouth defense. Giving Ava Angelo an opportunity to extend Hopkins' lead. Another free position from that top center hash, and she just rips it. Gia Mitchell ready.
Hopkins keeping possession as McAteer picked it up. Now we've got another stoppage and another card coming. This time it's going to be Mary-Kate George who will go off. We saw Falco go off before. Those two, ironically enough, the last 2 players in the CAA to win the Defensive Player of the Week awards.
Right, 2 veterans, 2 leaders on this defense, upperclassmen, solid players, fighting. Just a little bit too much on the contact, so just the need to reel that in just to keep the game safe for everyone on the field. We have another player up opportunity here for Hopkins with a full 1.5 minutes to work. Surprised, I've seen now twice opportunities that look like potential scoring opportunities where Hopkins opted not to take the shot, assuming with the player up, they're just looking for the exact right opportunity. And that patience paid off in this instance, where Hopkins was able to take advantage of the player up opportunity to extend their lead 6-1.
Campbell Case will get credited with the goal, and that's just a very simple wind up and let it fly.
Just a rocket. You could see her foot was planted at the 8 meter, which is a pretty long distance for a shot in women's lacrosse, but they're so strong now. These newer sticks support those power shots, and just able to place it and give her squad another point to extend their lead. One-handed draw win for Hopkins. With that goal, we're back to even numbers.
Shot that time by Megan Kielbasa.
And great pickup by Shannon Feely to get possession back for Monmouth.
McNeely had it stick checked away. Spears there to pick it up. Inside of the last minute here in the first. Monmouth can, in essence, keep it for the remaining part of the quarter. Shot clock turned off.
Another great check there by Hopkins defensive players.
Hopkins has been good inside that 8-meter line and in. They have not given the Hawk attackers any space to get shots off. Brennan with a pickup in a 1v1.
About 5 seconds to operate. It would have been really great timing just to give Monmouth a little bit of momentum and try to get a little closer in that score as we wind down the first quarter.
Hawks trailing 6-1 after one. More work to do when we come back on a breezy day at the Shore. Start of quarter number 2. Hopkins a 6-1 advantage on Monmouth. Blue Jays have been sharp from the outset. First time that these teams have seen each other, though I did talk to both coaches before. It seemed like it would be a game to make sense for both moving forward. Hopkins trying to even not just their away record, but their overall record. Blue Jays coming in 2-3 overall, and Monmouth pretty good at home. Their 2 losses, though, have come here in West Long Branch in games earlier this season against Rutgers and Navy. All right, Erica, tell me from a Monmouth perspective, what needs to happen for this game to change here in the second?
Well, I think it all starts with the draw. That's one of those categories, an important category that's leaning toward Hopkins and has made the difference with creating scoring opportunities. Monmouth's done a nice job working the ball around offensively, but they haven't really created the opportunities off of that workaround to get those high percentage shots off. And just defensively, they need to put a little more pressure on ball. Hopkins has done a great job with their 1v1 opportunities and scoring off the fast break, so Monmouth's really going to need to bring that second player to help on ball.
Dominance from the draw continues for Hopkins.
Another card in this game. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that there. I never want to question officiating. It looked like Maya did make some contact, but I think the player's trip to the ground made it look a little bit worse than maybe the contact actually was. But regardless of my opinion on it, we have Monmouth now in another player down situation as Maya Brock, who we talked about in our opening, is in the chair for 2 minutes. If my addition's correct, we had Falco, we had George, and now we have Brock with the card, so it's 3 for Monmouth. After the 4th team card, those penalties become unreleasable. So even if the other team scores, the full duration of the penalty will have to be served, which will give Hopkins even more scoring opportunities with a player up, which is something that Monmouth will want to avoid.
Hopkins will take their time, it looks like, here in this last and most recent 2-minute penalty on Monmouth. Good catch and shoot and finish. I think it was Ava Angelo again coming through. Would be her second of the day.
Right, and it was a great feed from behind to hit her as she's streaking right through that 8-meter. We'll see this feed and goal one more time here. You can see the ball's behind. It's pressured well. You can see the 2 Monmouth defenders collapsing on Angelo as she receives the ball. But again, just that little bit of space in women's lacrosse is more than enough to catch the ball and to get a really hard shot off. to help out her Hopkins squad. 10th goal of the season for Ava Angelo.
Draw win from Monmouth as it's picked up by Falco. Bit of a desperate time here for this Hawk team.
It is. They really need a goal. They scored the one early on. They've been quiet on this end. Their attacking unit. And lacrosse is a game of momentum, and you see shifts a lot within a 60-minute game. And Monmouth just needs a spark here to get them going, to start this shift and the momentum moving in their direction. Freshman Shea Berrigan, who's done a nice job so far for Monmouth this season.
Berrigan that time coming through, took a shot. Hopkins will rotate a bunch of players off. And if you want to try and get back into it, you could normally try and do it on some of these free position opportunities.
And Berrigan, what's so impressive to me about her play so far this season is not only has she scored 10 goals, but those 10 goals have come on 13 shots. So really high shooting percentage for the true freshman.
Elects to pull back out and reset.
Not a bad decision. You can see the Hopkins defenders collapsing in. She drew the double team quickly, realized that her best opportunity was to reset the attack.
A little bit of patience here from Monmouth. About halfway through this version of the shot clock. A quick catch, shoot, and finish. Cassidy Orban comes through.
Really nice connection there from Murphy to Orban. And it was funny, I was just thinking Orban, who does so much for this Monmouth team in every facet of the game. As much as she's hustling, statistically, she's been a little bit quiet so far in the early portion of this game. There's just a really great cut for her. She found herself wide open in the middle of the 8. Murphy able to get the pass off. Orban comes streaking through the middle, gets the shot off right before she hits the crease. Just inches a little bit closer for Monmouth in this contest. I think for Monmouth in this game, just figuring out how to work the ball and create opportunities against this high pressure zone is going to be really important for them as we move through the second quarter and into the second half of the game. Looking back, Drexel, I think, scored 16 goals against Hopkins, and all the credit to Drexel, but there are opportunities to be created. It's just a matter of figuring out what's going to work.
Turnover that gets picked up by Falco.
It's really nice, too, after Monmouth scored, to be able to have a defensive stop, force that mistake, get possession back, and see what they can do with this, hopefully string together another scoring opportunity.
Erica, you mentioned the experience on the defensive side for Monmouth. Vangeli, Falco, Feely, all seniors. You'd have to think that they, in particular, are not real pleased with how the beginning part of this game has gone on, but should be able to make adjustments.
You would think so. Like you said, a very veteran squad, solid defenders, a lot of depth there. I've talked to Coach Troutman throughout the season, and that's one of the things she's really proud of and excited for is the depth she has, really in all facets of the game, but defensively being able to work effectively in and out of different defensive sets. So yeah, it's a nice core, and to add Mary Kate George as well, as a senior, a transfer from Ohio State, came here last year. A really strong core, veteran core of defenders. So I'm sure there are some conversations to be had and adjustments to be made as we continue throughout the rest of this game.
Whistle against Monmouth. Possession kept with Hopkins. 11 to go in this first half.
Again, it looked like a moving pick here, and I was just about to comment that that's something we've seen a number of times, working that pick around the top of the 8 to get Hopkins players open. And I believe that call was a moving pick against the Hopkins attacker. So when a pick is set, a player needs to be set. Her feet cannot move once it's set for the safety of the player that she is setting the pick against. And even just a little bit of movement, like I think we saw there, gave possession back to Monmouth.
Vangeli going from one half of the field to the next, then lost it as she entered the offensive end.
Yeah, and even with the speed and skill that the Monmouth midfielders have, Hopkins has really brought the pressure. We've seen that back check just a couple times. So even when you think you're safe and you're running through the transition, so important to keep your stick protected, for the players to talk to one another to avoid giving that up.
Cheatham trying to clear some space off on the left side. Inside that opportunity, gets fought off by GM Mitchell. Mitchell, the freshman from Bridgewater.
Because that shot was on net, we have a fresh 60 seconds for Hopkins to work with. Didn't take them long, 10 seconds into that, able to capitalize off that second opportunity, give themselves their 8th goal of the day.
Campbell Case will get another. Will be her second this afternoon. That's been the one thing I have been very impressed with Hopkins. We mentioned it in the first quarter. They do not need a lot of time and space to get these shots off.
They don't, and they've been so efficient. I'm looking over here at the stats. They have 10 goals today. I'm sorry, 8 goals. 10 of them shots were on goal on 13 shots total, so 8 goals on 13 shots. They're quite efficient with the shots that they are taking, and they're able to capitalize on the opportunities that they've created for themselves.
Another draw right at midfield. Marshall, who's been very sharp for Hopkins, flicks it right to the waiting Bailey Cheatham. That's the 9th draw control win for Hopkins.
And Cheatham found herself fairly wide open as Bree Falco lost her footing on the circle. Found herself on the turf for a couple of moments.
Missed shot there by Hopkins. Picked up by Vangeli.
Great hustle by Vangeli, too, to fight for that ground ball to prevent Hopkins from getting another chance to set their attack up.
Long switch across the field, which will be difficult today with the wind.
Yeah, a little bit of a risky pass considering the conditions that the girls are working with, which, you know, I can hear the wind, I can see the wind. It hasn't seemed to be that impactful on the field today, but obviously it's something that we're not feeling and seeing firsthand, but we haven't seen too many instances where it seems that the wind has been a factor. Another loose ball inside the 8 that Hopkins is able to come away with to extend this attacking drive.
Saved by Mitchell. Keeps the score at 8-2 in favor of the visiting Blue Jays.
Another big cross-field pass. Looked like it might have gone out of bounds. Feely able to keep it in play.
Give away at midfield. It's the 8th turnover of the afternoon for Monmouth. Hopkins has 7, but seems like every time Monmouth makes one of those turnovers, it's created solid goal-scoring opportunities and finishes for the Jays.
All right, sometimes there's more to the numbers than simply the numbers, depending on how and when those turnovers happen, what point in the game, what space on the field. But you're absolutely right. It seems as though those Monmouth unfortunate turnovers have led to goals, in essence, in most cases for Hopkins.
Got a timeout that's been taken down on the field with 6:10 remaining in the second quarter. We will take it as a quick break as well. Come back, reset for the end part of the first half. Hopkins up 8-2. 6 and change remaining in the first half. Johns Hopkins up 8-2 on Monmouth, a Hawk team that comes in on a 4-game winning streak. Their head coach, Jordan Troutman, talking about this being a measuring stick game. Clearly, it hasn't necessarily gone according to plan, but, Eric, a lot of time left, and I think it is just that. It's a non-conference measuring stick game for a Monmouth team which enters the Colonial Athletic Association, the CAA, this year, where you know there are going to be no easy games.
Oh, that's exactly right. The Colonial is definitely a step up from the MAC, which was a step up from the Northeast Conference. So it's been nice in all my years here to see Monmouth grow as a program and play in these highly competitive games against some top programs. And it's a real test for them. And regardless of the outcome, there's always lessons to be learned when you play top opponents.
Gorelick set that shot up. Possession will be kept by Hopkins. Case, who's got a couple, goes to retreat it behind the cage.
And Hopkins has done a nice job, too, with those 50-50 ground balls, particularly in the scoring areas, of just being able to win those and keeping possession.
Contact on a screen that was set. Hopkins gets called for it. Monmouth will get the possession back.
You can see Hopkins bringing a lot of pressure onto Monmouth's transition, making it harder for them to get the ball into their attacking 30.
Hawks in need of a goal.
They sure are. And this attacking unit is strong. It's very balanced. They have a lot of different players who can score in a lot of different ways. But that really hasn't been on display yet, at least so far today. And maybe I eat my words as our impact player. Thank you, Maya Brock. Lives up to the hype that we gave her in our opening. Maya able to get Monmouth back on the scoreboard. But again, just one of the many threats that this Monmouth attacking unit has.
Third of the day for Monmouth as a team. And it comes at a time where late in this first half, you do not want things to slip away.
All right, and definitely some time here to work in this first half to try to close the gap with Hopkins. Comes back to the all-important draw circle. We still have Staiba taking the draw. She's done it the majority of the first half of this game today. Hopkins still has a significant edge in that category with 9 draws won compared to Monmouth's 3.
Cheatham had a chance at it. Overran it a little bit. Hopkins is given possession.
And with that draw going all the way over into Hopkins attacking 30, more players there able to fight to gain possession.
Really good defense there for Monmouth. Good curl, catch, and finish. As another goal here for Hopkins. Make it 9 for the Jays.
And scoring in the same fashion that we've seen throughout the first half of this game. Quick cut, quick pass in. They don't need a lot of space to work. She receives it. She turns just a little lane. Nice hard shot to that bottom corner to extend the Hopkins lead. Angelo with the hat trick on that score.
Angelo and Case, a combined 5 goals. Been difficult marks for Monmouth so far today. Hopkins continuing to make things happen off the draw.
Annie Marshall able to come up with her own draw that last time.
Nice give and go. Good save made by Mitchell, but the rebound is there for Hopkins to put it away.
Wow, I hope everyone's paying attention. We had some quick tic-tac-toe passing. You thought Monmouth got away with one with that nice Gia Mitchell save. Ball finds its way back into the stick of a Hopkins attacker. And another quick finish there. We'll take another look at this here coming from the top. Some really quick stick work. Touched 4 different players. Gia Mitchell made the save, unable to keep it in her stick. And just really great reaction from the Hopkins attack to come back with that ball and put it right in the back of the net.
Ashley Mackin, the player who will get the goal. 10-3 Hopkins with just over 3 minutes to play in the first half.
Looked as though Monmouth thought that they might have been awarded possession on that draw, but it's actually given back to Johns Hopkins.
And Jello able to get away from 2 Monmouth defenders. McAteer up top. Took a shot inside the 8-meter line from Falco. And that will be another card on Monmouth, and the second of the day on the senior Brianna Falco.
It's a big defensive loss there for Monmouth with Falco out there on the sideline.
Hawks so far through this first 27 and change have just not had the answers for a Hopkins attack, which has 10 so far in the day.
And we've seen some big defensive performances from Monmouth. They've held their opponents to under 10 goals in all 5 of their wins. That's been part of their recipe for success, and already at 10 here with a few minutes of play left in the first half. Marielle McAteer opts to pass it out.
It's about 40 seconds difference in between the player up and the actual game clock. See how patient Hopkins is here. Quick catch and finish. Another one for the Jays.
And Hopkins has done a great job with these really quick and sharp passes. All their attackers always in good position and ready to receive. That was Ashley Mack in there. Really had posted up right there on the crease. You'll see she gets a feed from the top. Quick catch and quick release.
Yeah, there's not much that you could say that Gia Mitchell could do with most of these opportunities that Hopkins has had.
No, I certainly wouldn't place any of this blame on her. She's made a couple nice saves in this contest so far, but when you're a goalkeeper and you're facing an attacker who isn't defended or who's that close to you, that's a really tough position to be put in, and more times than not, the attacker is going to make that score because she certainly has the advantage.
Hopkins getting new players on. Less than 2 to go in this first half. Mary Kate George got in the way of it and then picked up by Mitchell.
Orban's headed off the field. Looks like the stick made contact to the Hopkins player's body or head, which is an automatic card. So now Monmouth with 2 players down.
The cards have definitely been an issue in this game today for Monmouth.
Yeah, Hopkins has a strong attacking unit. It's hard when you are even numbers. When you are a player down, let alone 2, you would expect that the attack will be able to put something together to put some numbers on the board or at least create really good opportunities to try. It's a lot of ground to cover when you have 5 defenders covering 7 attackers.
You can see Monmouth defensively just trying to pack it in right now.
That's right. Taking care of ball, knowing that that's top priority. The other players moving around to the next threat. Good save by Gia Mitchell not to let up a goal there.
Shot taken by Eliza Bowman, number 33 for Hopkins.
Just under a minute to play as the ball comes out on the clear. You have Vangeli just stopping her feet and getting swarmed by these Hopkins, who they are their attackers in that case, though, playing a little bit of defense on the redefend, trying to get the ball back, which they do successfully. So Monmouth still 1 player down.
And Falco's penalty came to an end. Orban will sit for the remaining part of the half and in to the third. I think Monmouth will have enough to get forward, but they do get numbers the other way. A shot taken with 0.1 on the clock and a goal coming. Berrigan with the classy finish right at the end of this second half. That will take both teams into the locker room. They'll have the clock hit 0. A lot of work for Monmouth to do, but a little boost of energy right at the end of half number 1. Score in favor of Hopkins, 11-4 right now. We are at the break. It's been, in a lot of ways, a bit of a one-sided game. Back here with Erica Kaufman, DeLea, I'm Matt Harmon. We joined inside the booth. Erica, it was a game that we thought probably would be a little bit closer, and I would say a couple things. Draw control, which is always important,
right,
and Monmouth not helping themselves at all with the number of yellow cards that they've had.
The cards have been a huge problem for Monmouth. It's really hard to play with a player down, let alone 2, as they have at certain times, especially against such a prolific attack that we've seen today from Hopkins.
Now, if you're thinking of how to get Monmouth back into this game, what are some things that you think Jordan Troutman is trying to tell her team?
Well, I think they're going to start with the draw, maybe make some adjustments there. As we saw, we had a new drawer on that last time on the circle. I also think just back to basics, taking care of the ball. We've seen a lot of unforced errors. That's something that Monmouth, I'm sure, will look to clean up here in the second half.
And if you're Tim McCormick, I think you'd be thrilled with the way that the game has gone for Hopkins.
Absolutely. Monmouth is a strong competitor. They have a winning record, and they've just executed. I really think it comes down to execution. They've been sharper, they've created opportunities, and they've finished on those opportunities, and I think that is the biggest difference maker so far today.
We're going to relive some history when we come back after the break. Monmouth now a member of the CAA. We'll dig into that a little bit more with our halftime feature. It's Hopkins up 11-4 on the Hawks. Some highlights from our first half of activity. Lot on the Hopkins side of things. The Jays have been so far really sharp in almost all facets of the game. Ava Angelo with a hat trick, Campbell Case with a pair, and Erica, as we've talked about several times, domination from the draw control area, 13-3 the advantage for Hopkins.
And that's a huge advantage, particularly in a statistical category where Monmouth has had some success over the last number of games and the last number of wins. Certainly something I imagine Monmouth will want to make adjustments for in this second half.
There you see the numbers so far. Big advantages in the shot category, shots on goal. We talk about the draws. And Monmouth has definitely hurt themselves, not just with the fouls, but the next level fouls. We've seen a variety of cards where Monmouth has played one, and in one case, 2 players down during the course of that first half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow cards for Monmouth, just 1 on the Hopkins side of things. And what we think the big news would be is Brianna Falco given 2 of those. So her afternoon will come to an early close, and that is a big, big loss for Monmouth on the defensive side of things.
It sure is, and then that leaves Monmouth with 3 other players who are playing knowing they have 1 card already. Really careful not to put their team in a position where they receive a second yellow card and they too have to sit out for the remainder of the game. See Orban there on the sideline, still with some time on her penalty as we start this second half.
Opening draw coming here. Allie Toronto coming on for Monmouth, trying to change the fortunes of the Hawks, but the skill of Annie Marshall continuing things for Hopkins, who's got 5 seconds and a player up. High shot off target.
And it's those second efforts that we just saw, again, that have been another reason why Hopkins has the lead that they do. Done a great job with those 50-50 ground balls, of chasing their own shots and maintaining possession in the attacking end. Just using those hustle stats to be able to extend their plays.
Catch and finish again. Another right place, right time opportunity. Bailey Cheatham will get the goal for Hopkins.
That's right. The intended recipient of that feed inside was Eliza Bowman, unable to handle it. just like we've been talking about, that second effort, that being in the right place and the right time and hustling to maintain possession, keeps the ball with Hopkins and puts Bailey Cheatham with the first goal of this second half of play. You'll see the feed inside, intended target number 33. It's missed. Quick ground ball pickup, and again, just another quick shot for Hopkins. Orban with the draw, McNeely coming up with the ball.
Monmouth will set up with Berrigan, who had that highlight reel goal at the end of the first half.
Yeah, we didn't even really get time to talk about that. That was just a textbook, numbers up, 3v2 on a fast break, and just a really great finish by freshman Berrigan to add to Monmouth's scoreline.
Monmouth showing patience here. Down 12-4, looking inside for Orban, and it's been one of those days for the Hawks where they've just been a little bit off with some of those passes in the offensive end.
Right, it was a good look by McNeely. We've seen a few of those feeds inside the 8, and credit to Hopkins for bringing the defensive pressure, but also just Monmouth not handling some of them as well as they should or as well as they need to be competitive in today's game.
Tracking it down is Maeve Barker. Hopkins staying on the offensive attack and getting another goal to run their total to 13.
Another one for Angelo. She adds to her day. That should be her 4th. And you'll see a classic crease roll here. You had Vangeli just got caught a step behind her. Angelo gets herself a nice angle with that left hand up and able to add to her scoring total for the day. Fourth today for Angelo. Interesting that Gorlick, who we highlighted in our opening, so far has remained scoreless in this contest. You have Orban back on the draw.
McNeely trying to dig it out. Cannot.
Hopkins with numbers. Just a smart heads-up play by Angelo to get the Monmouth D called for that shooting space. When the attack has numbers up, the defense is trying to reset, trying to come to ball. If you find the defensive player in that shooting lane, you can see that fake. Really no intention to take that shot, but working to get that call, which she did. Really good D by Shannon Feely in the back there to cause that turnover. You can see Orban hustling down the sideline on transition. Hopkins continuing to pressure ball. They were able to cause some turnovers that way throughout the first half.
Brock to reset. Mangum now McNeely. Behind the net was Spears. Now Brock. Good fake to come forward, but a whistle will stop it. Brock will have a free position opportunity. Will come in and shoot and be off target. Good job by Tidings to cover the post.
It's another thing that Hopkins has done so well on both ends of the field with their attackers and their defenders, just really guarding that goal line and the out of bounds line at the very end, where they've been able to come up with the ball as being the closer player on a number of different occasions.
Good job defending by Feely on Ashley Mackin. Inside, though, great cut and finish. Barker, I believe, got the goal.
The ref gave the indication of a goal. She's checking the stick now. It appears as though it counts. There's definitely some conferring going on to see to talk about a potential foul prior to the shot and goal. And if that was against Monmouth and if that shot got off before the call, then that will stand. Take a look here at Maeve Barker working inside. Faces a little bit of contact on the shot. You can see the ref signaling a push, but we're setting back up at the draw circle, so that goal will stand to give Hopkins a 10-goal lead over Monmouth in this third quarter.
Hopkins staying on the front foot here. Low shot, good save made by Mitchell. Looked like it hit her right foot.
Nice grab by Murphy to keep that in play. Pass was a little bit low on the transition.
It's Feely going from one end to the next. Now we'll retreat.
Good support by Brennan. The McNeely pass looked like it got some contact with the Hopkins defender's stick. Was down on the ground, and Caroline Brennan did a good job of keeping it in play. Another pass on the ground. This one, Hopkins comes away with. So we're halfway through this third quarter. Monmouth with one goal so far. And from an attacking unit that does so much, it's a little bit of a change of pace for them today. We've seen much more of Monmouth's defense working than we have of their attack.
Another goal coming for Hopkins, and it's Angelo who's having a heck of an afternoon.
She sure is, and you can see the defense trying to talk about what's happening to see what adjustments they can make to slow down her production today. Because, yeah, 5 goals, and we still have a lot of lacrosse left to play, and they just haven't really figured out how to stop her. And she's scored in a number of different ways, and you can see her right there. She's tall, she's strong, she sees a little bit of space as far out as she was, just really cranks that shot.
6-foot freshman from Manlius, New York. Coming into today, her career high in goals was 3. That was earlier this season against Albany. Up to 13 on the year, 5 for today.
You can see the players waiting to come over that line, and it looked like there was a violation. You could see a black shirt step over that 30. Rule is you can reach your stick over the line to try to maintain possession, but you cannot step over into the middle portion of the field on the draw control until someone has established possession.
Mary Kate George with possession. Coming into the offensive end for Monmouth. Whistle on Hopkins.
Right, Hopkins going for that back check that we've seen quite a bit today. It looked like her cross, her stick got held a little bit there, which is a foul in women's lacrosse.
Win today for Hopkins evens their record at 3-3 with a daunting Big Ten schedule coming up. And they'll play James Madison over the weekend in a non-league game. First-year head coach Tim McCormick took over after 29 years from Janine Tucker. There's a catch and finish for Monmouth, a much-needed goal, and it comes for Caroline Brennan, who's been a bright spot today for this Monmouth team.
She has. That was a really great feed inside from Maddie Murphy up top. Brennan does such a nice job of using her body to protect the ball between the defender. You can see, again, we talked about using size on the other team. Again, just asking for it up high, quick turn and quick release before you have Tidings really able to set herself and prepare for that shot coming from Brennan. Brennan, the only Hawk with more than 1 goal today.
Two goals, 4 shots for Caroline Brennan. 17 goals for the year, which leads Monmouth. Haley Moore with the flip into the offensive end for Gorlick. Dug out by Feely.
We haven't seen too many of those drop passes inside the 8-meter for Hopkins today. Good hustle for Monmouth to come up with that ground ball. Fighting to keep possession here throughout the midfield as they face an enormous amount of pressure.
Giveaway comes to Hopkins. Has numbers on the 3-on-2. High with the shot from Mackin.
That save gives the Monmouth defenders a moment to reset, reposition themselves. Another shooting space violation called there against Genevieve Mullerby. She finds herself behind with Hopkins with a free position opportunity.
Opportunity finished by Gorlick. Make it 16-5 in favor here of Hopkins.
Gorlick, who we talked about in the open of the game today as being an impact player for her Johns Hopkins team. Her first goal of the day on that free position attempt. We'll check out a replay of this free position shot coming from that top hash, left hand, nice high fake. And just a quick bury to the low right side of the cage past Gia Mitchell.
Another draw win for Hopkins.
Great anticipation by Orban to break up that pass. Now just a fight to get the ground ball.
Catch and spin, but off target was Mackin with the shot. Inside of a minute to go here in the third.
That's the second time in a row where Monmouth got possession back from their defensive end, unable to get it over into the attacking 30.
Clock starts with 6 seconds. Bouncing shot, no good. Over the shoulder flick by Mackin, just offline. And that will take us to the end of the third. Hopkins continuing to dominate here as they outscore Monmouth 5-1 in the quarter. Lead 16-5 as we come back for the fourth. Back up and going with Erica Kaufman-DeLea. I'm Matt Harmon. Fourth quarter action here from West Long Branch, New Jersey. It's been the Blue Jays of Johns Hopkins who have been sharp throughout. And they will add to their total here and make it 17-5. And I believe that was Angelo yet again, who is having a career day and then some. That is her 6th of the afternoon.
Yeah, she's been really impressive today. And you and I were just chatting over that quick break. Another draw control credited to Hopkins, which gives them a 19-5 edge. And if you take a look at our score now with that last goal, it's 17-5, so almost a mirror there. And that was just a really good patience on Angelo's part. She almost took herself out of having a good angle to shoot and just turned her body, was able to get the shot off and extended to, like you just said, Matt, her career day that she's having so far. The draw control has been a huge factor in today's game. No surprise when you are leading that significantly in that category. It's going to follow that you have significantly more shots. Off those shots, you have significantly more goals. So that's something that Monmouth has had some difficulty with. And again, I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, something that they've done quite well over the last number of games. So definitely some film to watch over the next week and see where they can make some adjustments, whether it's who's taking the draw or who's supporting it on the circle.
Ironically enough, Monmouth has been so good on the draw during the course of this 4-game win streak. Is it just a bad matchup for a day? I mean, Annie Marshall's been really good, but is it just that Monmouth doesn't necessarily have players that match up with whatever she does?
It's possible, but I find that a little bit unlikely just because Monmouth has, I think we've seen 4 different drawers today. So there are different players who can try to match her. I think we've seen just a lot of ground balls that haven't been picked up cleanly, a lot of hustle from Hopkins to fight for those balls. I think there are definitely a number of factors that are involved. But I definitely credit to Hopkins for doing such a nice job, particularly to Annie Marshall on that draw circle.
Marshall with 9 draw wins. Hurlbrink has 5. Feely re-getting possession for Monmouth.
Monmouth having some difficulty here just handling the ball. We saw a drop from Strasden's on the clear. Mary Kate dropped the ball, able to get it back in her cross. Facing a lot of pressure here as she attempts to clear the ball out of that defensive 30 for Monmouth.
Hopkins on the break. Top part of your screen.
Looking at some different numbers on the back of these Monmouth jerseys. Strasden's in the game, Liv Finelli in the game. Mixing it up a little, trying some things to see what will work.
Well, think of it this way, right? In a non-conference game, if you're going to see if you want players to be part of the mix when you know you get into a difficult conference stretch, these are kind of the moments where some of those players get their opportunities, and an opportunity on a finish by Barker.
Right, coming off of another Monmouth turnover. That's been a little bit of a challenge for the Hawks today. And again, Hopkins just there and able to capitalize on all of the mistakes that Monmouth has been making. But back to your point, yeah, it's an opportunity in these non-conference games when you are either down by a number of goals or up by a number of goals on both sides of that score to test your personnel a little bit, get some players some experience, some playing time, see what's working, mixing it up a little bit, and just getting some players some minutes, see what they can do with it.
Clock moving down towards 9 minutes remaining.
Clean draw for McNeely. We haven't seen the attack with the ball too much throughout this game, particularly in this fourth quarter, so an opportunity for them to see what they can work.
Good catch down low. Berrigan took a shot, and she will get an opportunity from the 8-meter line.
Good ball movement from the Monmouth attackers. Hitting a number of different players. Berrigan already in her freshman campaign, not even halfway through, has proven to be someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. Makes a move around her defender. Looks for a lane. Another foul on Hopkins D puts Berrigan in a different hash for another free position opportunity. This time she takes the bounce shot, unable to capitalize. Nice save there by Tidings.
This will be a Hopkins team that gets back on the winning side, having lost their last game to Drexel. Their other losses against Loyola and an overtime to Penn. Plenty of time for Hopkins to continue to hold possession, work things around.
Right, they're certainly being patient here. Ball's moving around to a number of different players. There's certainly no sense of urgency for them to have to put any points on the board. Unable to handle the pass there, the Hopkins attack. Ball goes back to Gia Mitchell to give Monmouth possession once more. See if they can put something together here. You have Brennan coming down completely unmarked. Throws in a fake, unable to score. Great save, but it's that second opportunity we thought was going to go in, and still no goal, but possession remains with Monmouth.
Tim McCormick, you would think, going to be pretty happy with the way his team has played after 3 years at Arizona State, a two-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year. He knows the Big Ten, was an assistant at Northwestern, one of the top programs in all of the NCAA.
Great hustle by Brennan there, able to get her own shot back. And McNeely finds herself open inside the 8. Able to break a bit of a scoring drought for the Hawks. And that started. Brennan found herself on the line with the free position opportunity. The ball's deflected. She hustled after it, something that we've seen this Hopkins squad do all day. Able to keep possession with her team. And then again, we had a second and third chance opportunity. But it's possession. Possession is the name of the game in lacrosse. Need to create those opportunities, and the majority of the time that starts from the draw. You'll see McNeely's goal here again as we take another look. You could see Maya Brock, nice feed inside, little bit of space for McNeely to maneuver. She does get some contact from the D, but is able to finish her shot and give Monmouth their 6th point of the day today.
18-6 your score as it sits right now. We've talked about Monmouth moving up into the CAA from the MAC the last few years, the NEC years before that. Hawks will pick up another yellow and have a player go off to the sideline. The Big Ten, clearly one of the better leagues as well. If you factored in the top 25, in which Hopkins is number 23, you've got the likes of Michigan, Rutgers, Maryland, and Northwestern in front of Hopkins in the top 25 poll. All 4 of those schools are in the Nike USA lacrosse poll. Hopkins was picked 5th in the Big Ten preseason poll. 5th in the Big Ten means you're usually a pretty good team, and we've seen it today from Hopkins.
Absolutely. There's a lot of top teams in that conference, like you just referenced, and teams that play tough competition. It just makes them better. Something that Monmouth is really, that's their path. That's what they're looking to do. They're looking to grow in the conference. They knew they had some serious competition that they'll face as they move through their conference schedule, but it's something that they're excited for, they feel ready for, and even though it appears as though, I don't want to be presumptuous, but it appears as though that Hopkins is going to come away with the win today. There's so many things that Monmouth can learn from this game, not just specific things, but just the level of play, and that's exactly what Monmouth wants to elevate their play to, so they can be competitive in this new conference.
You don't want it to happen often, but every once in a while to get what you'd call a measuring stick game might not be the worst thing.
That's right. Coming off of a couple of wins where they weren't really challenged as much as they've been in this game, really gives them a lot to work on and keeps everything in check. And we just took another look at the Hopkins goal by Smith, her first goal of the season. So some different personnel on the Hopkins side. We saw some different personnel with Monmouth. We have a penalty, so Monmouth yet again a player down, but we saw Laguerra enter the game.
Save made by Mitchell. As we come up on 2 minutes remaining. Hawks give it away in transition.
That's something we've seen happen quite a few times today, and definitely something that Monmouth will need to clean up as they prepare for that conference play that we were just talking. Really great effort there by Monmouth to get the ball back.
Here comes Brock on a 2-on-1.
It looked like she had Brennan streaking right down the middle. Little surprised she didn't make that feed inside. Brennan being so good, putting the ball in the net. But possession remains with Monmouth, and they have an opportunity to work their attack, see what they can do.
Shot taken off target by Murphy.
Good backup by Spears.
Hopkins will even their record at 3-3 today. Monmouth will fall to 5-3 and have a 4-game winning streak snapped. Brennan will pick up a yellow.
Couple opportunities there for Monmouth to get a score, unable to finish. One of the things that I know their attacking unit has been really focusing on and stressing over the last week or two, finishing, putting the ball in the net. And just a little bit of I'm assuming some frustration on the part of Brennan there with just too much contact in the midfield, which puts her on the sideline for 2 minutes. You know, it seems as though the majority of the game, as we've looked over to the scoreboard, we've seen those red numbers ticking down to count the time on a penalty.
Another goal coming for Hopkins. This one is for Eliza Bowman, who will get another one today.
And you have a talented Hopkins team here, and all these cards and penalties against Monmouth just makes it that much easier for them to work their plan, to take advantage of the player-up opportunities and to continue to score goals.
7 yellow cards today on Monmouth. Don't even think we'll get this last draw off. Hopkins can celebrate and pick up their 3rd win of the season, as they will win this one going away with a final score of 20-6. Clearly not what Monmouth was hoping for coming into this game.
All right, I know Monmouth was excited to play a top program. We mentioned their 2 losses earlier in the season came to high-level programs, but they were much closer games than what we experienced here today. So I would imagine they're a little bit surprised. I imagine that they are disappointed, but non-conference game, still toward the, we're getting to the middle, but we're still to the early part of the season. A lot to learn from it as they prepare for their conference play.
You see some of the numbers at the end part of this game today. 42 shots for Hopkins. That's a big number for any team to put up and have to deal with. And a lot that Gia Mitchell had to face during the course of this afternoon.
Yeah, there's a significant disparity, more than double in some of these statistical categories. And when you have a team that has more than double the shots that you took, more than 3 times the amount of draw control wins, and then on the flip side of that, Monmouth with almost double the number of fouls, it's not that surprising to have a score that's so significantly in favor of Hopkins.
Coming up for Hopkins after this one, they'll take on James Madison on the road, and then it becomes Big Ten season at Ohio State, home for Northwestern. They've got a matchup with, by all accounts, the top team in the CAA in a non-league game with Stony Brook. That is how they will finish up the month of March. So Tim McCormick's team still with a lot to be challenged for during the course of the next couple weeks. After this one for Monmouth, they will go to Georgetown over the weekend, back home for George Washington on Monday, March 13th. And then it becomes CAA time. In March, they'll be home for Elon and then at Delaware. See if the Hawks can make some noise within their brand new league.
As they start that play in the CAA, this will be history. It's almost like the start of a new season as you transition from your non-conference play to your conference opponents.
Different, I mean, listen, you want to win every game, right? But it does become a little bit of a different thought, different mentality as you roll through some of these non-league games, unless I would say, Erica, you're a team that feels like, hey, if we win these non-league games, but we don't win our conference, we could be a potential at-large team come tournament time.
That's right, especially when you move into the Colonial, where there's a lot of potential to see multiple teams in that NCAA conference come later this spring.
We are waiting for Hopkins head coach Tim McCormick to join us down on the field before we wrap things up. Coach will give us a couple of words when he has the headset up and ready. I believe he is all set. Coach, we talked before the game, and you had said this was going to be a really interesting kind of non-conference matchup for you guys. Based on the final score, it was a day where many things went right for your side.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We competed hard. That was a major point of emphasis. So it's good when you can capitalize on the opportunities like we were able to do today.
Yeah, speaking of capitalizing on opportunities, I just want you to talk a little bit about Ava Angelo and the performance she had today with 6 goals. Tim, did you say, is she really a freshman? And what can you say about her performance today?
Yeah, she's been excellent. She's been right on the cusp. You know, hit a few pipes in the last few games. You know, we just kept telling her, keep firing. Eventually they're going to start to fall, and obviously today those ones ended up in the back of the net. I also think she had a couple of pipes as well. So great job from her. Obviously, she would be the first one to tell you support of the teammates. You know, she was the one kind of getting open today, but the way that we play, it's going to be someone new every single game. So she was that person today and did a great job of handling it.
Coach, last one before we let you go. Eric and I just talking about your schedule coming up. I know you've got the non-league game against JMU, and we just went through the Big Ten with 4 other teams that are in that top 25. It's not going to get any easier for you going forward.
Absolutely. We've been challenged early here, you know, and we'll continue to be challenged. We're just going to try to keep it one day at a time, focus on us, and keep getting better.
All right, Coach. Appreciate you coming by. Thanks for getting us all set for this one, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Coach.
That is Hopkins head coach Tim McCormick. Good enough to give us a couple of minutes down on the field. We wrap things up here from West Long Branch. The final score is the Jays go to 3-3, top 25. You'd think they'd be moving up. They win this one 20-6. Your final score for our entire crew, the Monmouth Digital Network, and my partner Erica Kaufman-DeLea. I'm Matt Harmon saying so long from the Jersey Shore. Your score there: Hopkins wins it over Monmouth 20-6. Flow Sports, your home for live and on-demand CAA sports coverage all season. Visit flowsports.tv/CAA for more information. This has been a presentation of the Monmouth Digital Network.